Look at your hand right now. You probably think that your body, your eyes, and your brain were lovingly crafted by the hands of an almighty divine architect. But what if I told you that your body isn't a masterpiece made by God, but rather a 4 billion-year-old chaotic emergency patchwork held together by nature's temporary duct tape? If a supreme engineer had designed your body, they would have been fired on day one, because hidden inside your frame are engineering blunders so absurd that they prove not divine perfection, but a blind, ruthless process of trial and error. A bizarre, haunting proof of this is hidden right inside your own neck, enough to blow the theory of intelligent design to pieces. When anatomists dissect a human or animal neck, they find a nerve known as the recurrent laryngeal nerve. The sole job of this nerve is to send signals from your brain to your vocal cords, which are barely a few inches apart. But do you know how this nerve actually travels? It doesn't go straight from the brain to the throat. Instead, it plunges down into your chest, loops all the way under the main artery near your heart, and then travels all the way back up to connect to your throat. In the case of a giraffe, whose neck is 15 feet long, this nerve leaves the brain, travels 15 feet down to the heart, loops under the artery, and then travels 15 feet back up to connect to the throat. A completely pointless 30-foot detour route just to bridge a 2-inch connection. Why would any sane engineer or God create such a ridiculous design? You only get the answer when you accept that all of our ancestors were once aquatic fish, where the heart and gills were sitting right next to each other. As necks grew longer over millions of years, evolution had no rewind button, so it was forced to stretch that nerve longer and longer. But right here, a piercing question arises that will shatter your perspective. If our design is so flawed, if our bodies are filled with so many mistakes, then who planted this lie inside our minds, and why? That we are the special, handcrafted creation of a supreme God. The answer lies hidden in the dark graveyard of our DNA, something that will chill your soul to the core. When you look at your genetic code, you might assume it was meticulously written by a divine programmer. But modern genetics has uncovered a truth that shakes the very foundation of religion. Roughly 8% of your DNA isn't human code at all. It is a heap of biological corpses left behind by ancient deadly viruses from hundreds of thousands of years ago, known as endogenous retroviruses. Your very own genetic code is a biological graveyard, where ancient pandemics left their permanent footprint. And do you know what the most mind-bending part is, brother? When you were forming inside your mother's womb, the placenta that provided you with oxygen and nutrients was formed using a protein called syncytin. And this protein isn't naturally human. Millions of years ago, an ancient virus hijacked our ancestors' DNA and inserted it. If that deadly virus had not infected our ancestors back then, mammalian reproduction and your birth today would have been impossible. Meaning, you aren't sitting here alive today because of some divine miracle, but because of an ancient viral infection. But now, another mind-bending question emerges that will short-circuit all the wires in your brain. If the origin of life didn't spring from a divine miracle, if we weren't crafted by a god, then where did the very first heartbeat come from in inanimate clay, water, and gas? How did non-life magically become life without a creator? To pull back the curtain on this mystery, we have to turn to a quiet, gentleman from the 19th century who uncovered a truth so terrifying that he hid his own book for 20 years, afraid to publish it. The deep realization brewing inside his head was so dangerous that if it broke out, it would crumble the very foundations of the Victorian church. That man's name was Charles Darwin. Observing different species of birds and tortoises across the Galapagos Islands, Darwin discovered a cold mechanic known as natural selection. Darwin revealed to the world that nature is not a loving father who carefully crafts every living creature. Nature is a brutal, cold executioner. There is no divine script at play here. There are only two laws: random mutation and brutal survival. Whatever organism adapted to its changing environment survived, and whatever failed to fit was erased by nature without a shred of mercy. Out of all the species that have ever walked the earth, whether giant dinosaurs, saber-toothed tigers, or millions of variations of plants, insects, and animals, 99.9% of them are extinct forever. Now ask yourself, my friend, if a god were designing everything, would that creator be someone who throws 99.9% of their creations into the trash? Such a creator doesn't look like a perfectionist. They look like a serial failure. But natural selection possesses neither a brain nor eyes. It is a blind force. That is precisely why the famous biologist Richard Dawkins called it the blind watchmaker. Let's bring it back to your own body for a moment. At the very base of your spine rests a tiny bone called the tailbone. You don't have a tail, yet your skeleton walks around carrying the leftover mark of an ancient tail. When you feel afraid or cold, goosebumps break out across your skin. Why do these goosebumps even happen? Because millions of years ago, when our ancestors' bodies were covered in thick hair, standing that hair up during times of danger made them look larger to predators and trapped heat during cold weather. Today, you don't have that fur. Yet your brain is still running that same millions of years old outdated software. Take a look at your appendix, which bursts inside hundreds of thousands of people every year, threatening to end their lives. Look at your wisdom teeth that can't even fit inside your smaller jaw, causing excruciating pain. These are all biological scars of ancient evolutionary missteps, proof not of a perfectionist creator, but of a slow, clumsy, blind evolution slapping new parts onto old hardware. But now another unsettling question is rising in your mind, one that won't let you sleep tonight. Evolution explains how a single-celled organism turned into a human being, but where did that very first cell come from? How did that initial biological spark ignite in lifeless clay and water without a god? Doesn't that mean that in the end, God had to craft the first cell? To shatter this delusion, we have to look to a famous 1952 scientific experiment known as the Miller-Urey experiment. Stanley Miller and Harold Urey recreated the atmosphere of early Earth inside a sealed glass flask, filling it with pure water, methane, ammonia, and hydrogen, and subjected it to high-voltage electrical sparks. They didn't cast any magical spell. Yet in just a matter of days, amino acids spontaneously generated inside that lifeless glass flask. Amino acids are the fundamental building blocks of life that form proteins. Science proved that life isn't a divine enchantment. It is an inevitable outcome of chemistry and physics. Near hydrothermal vents in the deep ocean, where scalding mineral water, chemical energy, and intense pressure meet, organic molecules reacted with one another to form self-replicating RNA chains. Chemistry slowly transformed into biology. When chemical molecules are given energy and billions of years of time, they naturally drift toward complexity. There was no need for a divine wand or supernatural power, just a continuous chemical reaction lasting a billion years. So why does humanity cling so desperately to the belief that we were created by a god? Why are we so terrified of evolutionary truth that even today, millions of people reject evolution and choose to place their trust in 5,000-year-old religious myths? The answer lies hidden in a dark corner of human psychology. The human brain is a hyperactive pattern recognition machine. We seek purpose, intention, and agency in everything around us. When lightning struck the sky in ancient times, early humans believed an angry deity was riding a chariot firing arrows. When an earthquake shook the ground, they assumed the earth was furious with them. We have always slapped a divine face onto our ignorance and fear. Evolution strips away our ultimate ego trip, the lie that we are the center of this cosmos and that this world was built exclusively for us. But if you really think about it, my brother, the reality of evolution is 1,000 times more beautiful, grand, and mind-bending than any religious myth. Religious stories reduce you to a lump of clay crafted by a deity and returned to dust. But evolution reveals that you are the culmination of a 13.8 billion-year cosmic journey. The iron coursing through your blood was forged in the supernova explosion of a dying giant star. The water inside you arrived via ancient icy comets that bombarded the Earth billions of years ago. And your consciousness is the living part of this universe that has finally turned around to observe itself. You are not a created product made by a deity. You are the universe itself, experiencing itself through a biological human vessel. And now comes the final, terrifying paradigm shift that will shatter the last remaining threads of your reality. For 4 billion years, evolution on Earth was driven by blind natural selection and slow genetic mutations. But now, for the first time in history, a species has emerged, us, humans, capable of editing our own DNA code. Through CRISPR gene editing, synthetic biology, and artificial intelligence, we have taken the driver's seat of evolution. We are stepping away from natural selection and stepping into directed evolution. We are erasing genetic diseases, moving toward designer babies, and integrating cybernetics into biological bodies. Do you understand what this means, brother? Evolution created an organism that has now become the master of evolution itself. We are becoming the very creator we spent centuries searching for in the heavens. We are directing our own evolution. But can we wield this cosmic power responsibly? Or will we be replaced by the synthetic species and AI we create? Is the final step of human evolution to shift from carbon-based biology and merge into silicon-based AI? Subscribe to the channel right now. All the secrets are about to be unlocked. Let us know in the comments what mind-bending topic you want to see in the next video.